I work with XPath extensively to locate HTML elements, and I also did use assert.j to verify the test results.
That's a well-elaborate response.
Yeah, I don't.
You said you tested API, right?
Yeah, we did, right? We actually did that.
Do you remember which request did you send? I mean, which methods did you send? Which methods did you use?
Mostly select queries I used in order to fetch the data from the database and compare what was displayed on the website was the data coming. It matches the data in the database. Select was the most common query.
Let me focus the question. I just asking. Do you remember what methods do you use, like post or what are the? Yeah.
So okay. You said API. Sorry, I'm talking about SQL. So yeah. So we used get and get, post, delete, put. These were the four methods, API methods that we worked on.
Can you please tell me? Sorry.
I think his question was what platform you use for that, and I think the answer would be Postman.
Yeah. We used Postman to run the manual API testing. Yes.
Do you know what's the difference between get and method post?
Yeah, so with get, we are just requesting to get some data in return, and it has no body in the request. But with post, we are creating a new new data into the database basically, and we have to send set of parameters as the body of the request data. Body of the HTTP request as post. So.
And do you know the difference between post and update?
Post and update, yeah. But if you're talking about API, it's not post and update, right? It's post and patch or put. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's
because update is
yes, post and put.
Yes, it's put.
So
exactly.
Post, we create a new record in the database, but with put, we replace it. I'm sorry, I'm confused. I'm not sure.
That was the tricky question. That was the point.
Yeah, because I always get confused if we are amending something in the record or we are replacing it completely. So it's either patch or put, but I got confused. So.
What's the difference between put and post?
Yeah, the same one I answered. I'm confused, right? With put and post, we are creating a new record in the database, but with put, we are updating the existing record.
So what if
if you don't have if you don't have anything on database and we will use put, what we will have?
Thank you. You just
will it create a new record?
Exactly.
I'm not sure. Please answer it so that I remember next time.
Yes, exactly. Any other questions to Shweta? I have a lot of, but I just want your folks to,
What is safe for client put or post or get? What is safe for server?
RESTful API. I didn't get the question. Can you repeat the question?
Okay, Mike, can you help me?
Can you repeat the question? I didn't also understand it.
I saw this kind of question. So, which is more safe, get or post?
Yeah, which is more secure?
Post is more
secure. Yeah.
Post is more secure.
Why?
I think it adds because the data is sent as the body and not as the header. Like you can't see it in the URL when it is getting sent, so it's not visible.
Yes, it is secure for client. Yeah.
Yeah. Was the answer proper?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How about from the user perspective? Which method is more secure?
Which one? Yeah.
Not from the client, from the server perspective, but from the user perspective.
I don't know what to say to that.
So
yes, that when you compare these two methods, post is always the more secure because there is a body attached to the request, which is not,
It looks like Dmitry wants to tell you that when you do GET request, you get all
out of all methods, out of all methods, which one is most secure for the server and which one is most secure for, from the user perspective?
It has to be post if I'm not wrong, but I can't properly explain this. But if you have an answer, please tell me. I'll make a note.
Yeah, Dmitry, give us the answer, please.
So from user perspective, GET method will be the most secure.
GET. Oh, okay.
Can you tell us why?
No, I think it is
No. Look, I mean, GET. With GET message method, you cannot send secure data. The post will be the most secure. The GET won't be secure.
Yes.
The GET one, it is secure from server perspective.
From server perspective, yes.
Yeah, definitely. What is how long is the URL in GET?
URL?
URL, right.
Yes, URL. How long is? How much information we can put there?
Oh. Yeah, I think I read about it, but I don't remember. I don't know. Anyone else?
Anyone?
Could you answer your question, Lily?
It depends on browser, but
let me guess.
In average, okay.
I really don't know, but I think it's 2048, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So this was about GET method, right? How much data we can send.
Yes.
We can get. So the answer is 2000.
2048.
48.
And if I'm not mistaken, you can send some data in the URL link. I mean, not only the end, I mean endpoint. I mean, but also some extra.
You can send parameters.
Yes, and these parameters, because you cannot use the body, but technically this body goes into the parameters in the URL.
Right.
It kind of substitutes the lack of the information.
Everything that fits in 2048 bytes, right?
Uh-huh.
Or bits? Bytes or bits? Bits, okay. Everything that fits in that, we can send it. Even if it's a small picture or something like this.
I got other questions. It looks like when we do these post requests, we do authorization, right? And there should be kind of token. So can anyone tell where the token actually stored? Where does it hold?
On the client side, on the client machine.
I mean, if we're talking about the web browser.
Yeah, in the cookie, the browser cookies.
Cookie, it's one. Any other place?
In cookies, actually, if on the client side, then usually in cookies, the tokens, I think only can stay, right or no?
Actually, there's two answers. One is cookies, exactly. And there's another one.
The authorization header. That's where all the information is stored. When you on the server from the client side.
I mean, if you're on the server, there you have this in database or no?
So the question was where the token is stored.
The token is stored. So
yes.
The token is stored in database. So the server can compare it with the database whenever you try to send some requests.
But to get that authorization token, you would have to send a request, and then you will look for it in the header.
Correct. correct. Whenever you send an API request, you will send that token in the header, but the token is stored if on the server side is stored in database, right? Because I'm actually asking if you guys know, because there should be like I'm not sure exactly. I know there is a place where they keep these cookies to be accessible pretty quick. Yeah, because if it's on the server, if it's on the database, and database is huge, then it might take a lot of time to find the correct, and they probably keep this somehow in memory. So whenever a session is started, so for example, an user just open up the browser and type something in URL and goes to a site and log in and gets this token. This token is stored somewhere in memory, not on the physical hard disk on the, but somewhere in memory to be available for the whole session. You know.
Yes.
Whenever
ID, you mean session? You're talking about session ID, right?
So each token has a time limit or time frame, right?
Exactly.
Usually they are for a session or for a day or probably for 5 minutes or for something like this. And whenever you try to browse some different pages on the same site, you send this token all the time with your requests. And for the server to access this token pretty quick, they keep it in memory. Or no? Or
I would say this way, that when they send a request and they give us authorization token, the database generates this token, and then it goes to the browser. And usually in browser there's two places where it can be stored. I will tell you, like, one is the local storage of the browser, and another one is, you said, cookie file for
local storage of the browser. Okay.
Yes, and right now in the QA field and in developers, people still arguing which one is better, where to keep these tokens. Do we need to keep them in the local storage, or do we need to keep them on the cookie files? And there are some advantages and disadvantages of both of them. I don't know. Do you know or not? I can keep going, or maybe you can tell me what's the advantages of the local storage in browser.
I think because in the browser many websites are can be open in the same browser, so it could be that cross hacking could occur, but I'm not sure if this is the best answer. Right? Is that wrong?
It depends on the encryption.
Yeah, it has. Okay.
It depends on encryption, I guess, but I would say that in cookies, I don't see why we would keep the tokens on local storage.
I give you the advantages of local storage. So first, when you're working with the local storage, it's really comfortable because you can use I would say pure or raw JavaScript. And if your application doesn't have backend, it happens sometimes, and you rely on somebody's API, it's not always possible to request installation of this API or some special cookies for your website. So this is the one advantage. Another one, when you
I don't. Okay, go ahead.
I mean, another advantage, when you use local storage, it's really comfortable to work with the API, which requires to put the token, access token, to the header of the request. For example, like authorization bearer, and like we did it, like authorization bearer and then there should be access token.
But your social.
This is the advantages.
Didn't really get the second one, but the first one you said, like, if your application doesn't have backend, right? If your application doesn't have backend, that means the token won't be generated on the server, and that means there will be no cookies over there, right? Because you're not sending anything to the server, you have only your local storage, and that's it. That's why you don't have to use cookies.
I mean, there's no backend, and you can rely only on somebody's API. That's why, you know, there's no chance to request these cookies, and that's why it's safe.
So yeah, because you mean that sometimes they use third-party services for encryption. So that's what you mean? Like,
yes.
And then the cookie and this token has to go back and forth between the third party and the. No, I don't think that. Okay.
The idea is that the token is not generated by the server. The token is generated on your machine, and it uses your local storage. That kind of makes sense. But whenever you have a server, then I guess cookie is the right place to save them, to keep them. That's my opinion. I don't know.
No, it makes sense.
I mean, actually, there's a lot of type of tokens, but as I understand, we're talking right now about two types of tokens. The token, like access token, which like, as you said, which really have a brief life. I mean, short life. They call it like, if I'm not, JSON web token, if I'm not mistaken, JWT. And the server usually kind of sign them. And every time you send the HTTP request from client to server, this token just, you use this token for authorization your requests. So this is access token. And another one is the refresh token, which usually is a long-lived token, which usually, if I'm not mistaken, you can keep it on your database, and it's usually used for getting new access token when the time expired, when the previous token expired.
The time is over.
Yeah, when the time is over for the previous token. This is what we're talking about. And about the drawbacks for the local storage, usually what people complaining is that there's attacks like XSS attacks, and it's a lot of ways to hack these local storage with this type of attacks. Because the hacker or that person who can do some kind of harm for your application, he or she usually can launch the JavaScript code on your website.
Instead of saying he or she, you can say the program.
Yeah, or program, right? They can launch their own JavaScript code on your website, and this application or that hacker can get the access to the access token, to the token of the access, which is actually, as we just mentioned, saved in the local storage. That's the main vulnerability, I would say. So what about cookies? Can anyone tell me about the advantages, disadvantages?
I think cookies' advantage is that it's a very simple plain text file, so it doesn't take much.
Let me put the question a little bit different way. Do we have access from JavaScript for the cookies?
No, we don't.
Yes, exactly, we don't. So that means that they are not, we cannot, yeah, they are not, how to say, vulnerable for XSS attacks, right?
Well, technically, it's debatable because they're still considering both of the methods are vulnerable, but obviously the local one would be the most vulnerable to hacker attacks. Where if you put it on cookies, there are more ways for you to kind of like secure the your requests, and so for that, it's a little more secure, but it's still vulnerable. Just so you know, like it's out there. It's still, they're still able to get into it.
But if I'm not mistaken, we could put the flag HTTP only, and in this case, when you put the HTTP only flag, your cookie will be protected 100%, and no one can do any JavaScript access for them.
Yes, they can read your access token from the cookie. It's automatically sent with every HTTP request to your server. So yes. But then again, they're just saying like you can't say that there's no vulnerability if you choose cookies. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes, because even the person or the program will launch or install somehow this JavaScript code on your web page. He still couldn't read this token, this access token from cookie files. Because, right. So this is why it's so, I mean, this is the advantage of this cookie way of storing the token.
One disadvantage that just come up is the limit, the size limit. They only give you, what is it, something small like 4 kilobytes to store the information, and it depends on the application or the case that you might not even have enough storage room to keep your tokens in the cookies, so you would have to go to local.
Anybody else has options why we so good with using cookie?
I would ask something else. How we
I mean, any other advantages of cookie files?
I don't have any other answer.
Let me tell you, cookie, but you know this already, cookie automatically sending with every HTTP request for the server. So this is another advantage of cookie files, that every new HTTP request, they send automatically cookies.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right, the size of the cookie file is usually limited with the 4 kilobytes. That's true. So if you using the big data, big tokens in the JSON web token, so probably cookie files is not the best way. Where would you like to keep them?
Yeah, I think to summarize it all, for as a question, as an interview question, I think we would go for a cookie method just to iterate all the benefits of using that method versus local. So that kind of would give us a better understanding, like on the approach, and I think that could be a good answer for the interview, I think.
Yeah, I'm just half of this answer. I'm telling you only because they already have these questions, and the QA, I don't know who was the lead or whatever. He just he just corrected me a little bit, so I was more or less. So I just read a little bit more, and it saved my life in that time. Because he was really like insisting, like, what's the cookie, what's the storage, what's better, what's worse, advantage, disadvantages, where we use that. I would say that not everybody asks you so many questions, especially in the cookies, in the storage, in the tokens. But you never know what will be asked.
Yeah, it's better to know. Thank you for sharing.
Shweta, can you tell me how do you perform the regression testing?
What?
How do you perform the regression testing? If anyone wants to help Shweta, just be proactive. Don't keep silence.
We have this thing as raise hand. What is it?
Go ahead, please.
No. What was the questions? About regression?
Yeah.
Regression.
How do you perform the regression testing in your project?
So basically, we include in our regression all new functionality that was added and all the areas that were affected by this new functionality. And also we include all the functionality of the application.
Can you give an example?
For example, we have calculator, and we just added this division and what else was there? Division and
square root,
right?
And memory and memory function.
And memory. So we will include these in our regression tests, and we will also include, for example, let's say we have a menu. There is actions, for example. I don't have this calculator. Let's say we have a menu on the top and it says actions for something like this, and you have that plus, minus, whatever, and division. And you will probably include that too, because you have to see if that menu will work and if the for example, if let's say there was 4 menu before and another one was added, and you see if the other ones didn't break, and you see that they are whatever. I'm just trying to say that you're trying to see the areas that may be affected, if that menu works, and if it will initialize the division and whatever was added over there. And if there are some other places, for example, it was a button added, you still have to verify that area too, if other buttons didn't break after addition of this one, and if they have the same functionality, the other ones, and also you have the main functionality of you have to include in regression the main functionality of the calculator. And that's it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Or let's say it's something else about web-based application. And another example is the same. Like you had, for example, you added the footer, right? Mm-hmm. And you have some links over there. And you just can verify the footer you added in regression, and also in regression you can add the bottom section of your application, of your web page, for example, to see if this footer didn't cover something, and maybe some buttons or some information. You see if this footer, I don't know. Didn't change the layout of the or grid of your page, and also what else you can see, and also you can see probably in the code if this footer didn't interchange with something else. And also you verify the main functionality of the application. It depends on the time you have. If that's a small application like calculator, probably you can do full regression If that's a huge web-based application, you'll just concentrate on what was changed and the areas that were affected. That's it.
By the way, folks, I don't know how about your interviews. I have 3 out of 10 people who were interviewing me and 2 other ladies with whom I'm talking about. They're asking about, tell about the regression a little bit more. So they ask curious questions like, how many tests per day, per week do you have? How many hours does your regular regression testing last? Something like this. So I do understand that it depends on the company. This depends on the project. It depends about a lot of stuff. But to be not confused, you should make at least until you didn't start, kind of your story. How does it that it will not confuse you in the interview, because they like to ask this: how many tests? I know that somebody have 15 tests a day, somebody have 80. It depends how many testers. If I'm the only one, probably it will be from 10 to 20. If maybe there's 2 or 3 or 4 testers, there could be, of course, more. But once again, it depends on the app. It depends on the amount of testers. It depends about the project. Too many depends on. I just want you to know that.
Nobody asked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody asked me how many tests you include in regression, but they asked me how much time it takes you to do regression. But they asked me, and usually for 2-week sprints, that could be 1.5 day or probably 2 days, sometimes 1 day. It depends on the functionality that was added. And
yeah,
if that's...
Yeah, that's the average answer. From 1 to 4 days depends on the amount of tests, amount of app, and amount of functionality. You're right. So,
but in a 2-week sprint, 4 days for regression, that's too much. I mean, you don't have that much time.
It depends how many testers
think about in a second week you have at least 3 meetings, and 2 of them will take you all day, and 1 of them will take you probably half of day. So 4 days for regression is too much, unless you work on Saturdays and you deploy on Saturday night.
Yeah, one lady in this QA chat, I forget the name of the chat, she told folks that they test in the last 2 weeks the regression test because they would like that their boss or the app owner told them that they should do it in the some strict date, and they keep doing this stuff. But I do realize that it's a rare case, but it's still happening. So probably people who are asking this question don't really need digits or numbers or days or hours. As I understand, they just want to find out that you are not lying and you know what you are talking about. So they just want to see, will you be confused to tell it, or because you just did it, so there's not a big deal question for you. Because technically, if they don't know your app and they don't know your project, how can they realize, how many tests did you really make and how many, it depends only on some exact project, company, amount of employees, and so on. So it's a hypothetical question with no right answer.
Okay, thank you for telling this. Michael, I sent some question in the chat. Do you guys see? I want to talk about that because I was struggling with these questions.
Tell me, how would you test a search feature in news app search field, where you can type something?
And the next one also related to that, but a little.
Okay, so on the first one, you have to put a lot of questions about this text field. Mm-hmm. Whenever you see, if they ask you in an interview, you just have to put a lot of questions. You have to ask, first of all, what type of characters this field accepts, what are the boundaries, how about the special characters, and then you come up with test cases, because that's why you have to ask for text fields all the time.
They might not give you any requirement. They will say that there are no requirements. Just test it.
If they say so, then that's one thing. But if no, you have to ask all the time, even if they don't say nothing. But you have to ask.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but you have a text field, a search field. Is a search field because it has that button that you can click and you see the responses. See
It says
the news. That's a news app, right? So you see whatever news you have there. But that's, first of all, that's a text field, and you have to ask for the parameters of this text field, what it accepts, and then just come up with test cases.
Yeah, it looks like you should go along, how we be taught, you should go along with the technique of test design, right? Because there's a lot of, if I'm not mistaken, about 9-10 methods how to start with this stuff. So like you remember this boundary analysis, you know, the pairwise testing, the equivalent partitioning, and so on. So I guess if there's no requirements, you should at least go to this usual techniques of test design. And the other question that they can ask you, what is for example, equivalence partitioning, if anyone can remember.
Equivalence partition?
Equivalence
yeah. I believe that's not the case, but you probably can. The only equivalence partitions you can do here is just to test like zero. I mean, not zero. Like you don't input nothing. You just press the search, and it shouldn't happen nothing. And then you just ask for the maximum characters that this text field accepts, and then you have to test on those boundaries, and you have to test more than that and less than that. And I mean, if for equivalence partition, you just have to test anything that fits in these boundaries. You know, you can, let's say this field accepts 1,000 characters. You just have to type something and see if it works, and then you go above. You type something more than 1,000 characters to see if it accepts, or even if it accepts whenever you press the search button, if it gives you an error or something. And that's for the equivalence. But this is not really the case for equivalence. Equivalence can be, for example, date. Date has equivalence, or age has equivalence, or something that is more related to equivalence. A search field is more related to boundaries, probably.
Exactly.
And yeah.
Shweta, by the way, can you give any good example for testing with equivalence partitioning?
I can't think of anything.
For example, date. Can you test the date?
By the way, it could be date. It could be like cell phone number, or even the email.
There are a lot of tests for emails. There are more than 50. That's too much. But date is pretty easy.
Yeah, so technically, as I realized, for equivalent partitioning, you should just divide the input types of data to the two categories: valid, not valid. That's it, and try to find out which one is valid, which one is not valid, and just give like several options which could be valid or which couldn't be invalid, not valid. I mean. And then you make like several test cases for several 4 or 5 for valid, and the same amount, maybe a little more for not valid. Just standardize, just give them main test for invalid groups, for invalid types of data. That we realize that this is the list of invalid data which we not can put inside these fields. I don't know, is that cell phone number, date, or email, or whatever field we think we will test with this equivalent partitioning method. So with this, with this search feature, we have really a lot of options to do. We don't really have such a limitation like equivalent partitioning, right? So it's better to do the tests for, as I told you, for some kind of limited information like cell phone, email, some kind of, I don't know, the limited name or limited password, where the capacity of input feed is limited, or when we have some kind of requirements where we cannot use this or that symbol.
When I was trying to think, I thought that maybe I can say that first I will test to see if I enter something and search for it, I get relevant results. If the search input matches the return, the result of the search to be positive one case, and then maybe if I just hit a space and enter, does the submit button get activated or not, something like that. Are these answers to include or no?
Yes, this could include, for example, if you type space, usually in search fields, spaces at the beginning and at the end, how they are called, tailing. I mean, whenever you write the code, there is a method called trail, I don't remember, but trimming, or it depends, whatever. I mean, they have to exclude these spaces at the beginning and at the end. And if you only type a space, that should be also they have to capture this and just basically when you press search on a space, it shouldn't happen nothing. But I was thinking about, I'm just saying, I was thinking about search field. Probably you still have to verify some combinations and some, for example, some formulas for searching. If you take a word in quotes, or some words, like 2-3 words in quotes, that could be something different that you take these 2-3 words without quotes. Because usually in search fields, you have, if you take something in quotes, that means you're looking for exactly the same expression. But if you're not, you probably can find a page where it contains these words, but not separated. There's some and this could be some other cases for a search field. So probably that's not just a text field; it's something a little bit different. And also, you can use plus word, for example, something and plus something. Plus sign. Something plus something could be another case for it. And space is definitely something that you have to test, because if you type space and you push, or you click on the search, and it tries to give you spaces from everywhere, that means you won't get any relevant response, because
So it should not. I think it should. Maybe the case should that if I just enter a single space or just spaces, no characters, then the submit button should not get activated, or you should not be able to submit. You should not be able to search with that field.
Yep, something like this.
Yeah, there should be a feedback maybe in the search field itself that enter something like that, enter a text or something. Okay, let's move to the next question then. Should we move to the next question?
Yeah, that's good.
Yes. Let's say you type baseball, but the output result is pizza. What would you do to narrow down the root cause of that? So if the issues on the back end, what else would you for a problem besides database?
So this is, I think, an Apple interview question. They shared these questions in the school itself.
Yeah, my consideration, because I have something like this, in one interview, there was a kind of bug, which actually I found. Database is not enough, as we see here a lot of answers. Sometimes you should look on the form. I mean, because when you press, I don't know, submit button, right? You should see what is under the submit button, which type of the data it sends to the database. Because sometimes it should send something, but it shouldn't, but it didn't or doesn't send what you exactly are looking for. And if I'm not mistaken, submit button has three options. I mean, I'm telling you because actually I remember that there was a free field. Like, I mean, in your case it's like you said pizza or baseball, but in my case it was, if I'm not mistaken, email, login, and some other stuff, some other like name of the group or something like this, and any other type of the form. But technically, what I realized that the form with the submit button should send like three fields, but it happened that way that it sends two fields to the database, and from this we can analyze and consider it could be problem with the database. They could be probably go to for the wrong table. I don't know how many tables in which table it goes. In the right table, in the wrong table, maybe in the empty table, maybe in absolutely, table which does not correspond with the table which it should go. And there should be also methods if you open the, I don't know how is it in Mozilla, in Chrome browser, the DevTools, you should see, or you can see, there's for the submit button, there should be three ways how the submit button works. There's a kind of, I don't know how to call it, like a submit word or whatever, submit method. Like they usually submit, reset, and some other stuff. So in my situation, I remember why it didn't really send this information, because we find out when we open the Chrome DevTools, it was the reset button, reset keyword instead of the submit word. So this is one of the way that we can, look at and go inside and search for this type.
So in your case, it was the wrong function was getting called for the button.
Yeah, there was a wrong,
wrong function was attached to the wrong button, right?
Yes, yes.
It was attached to submit, so that's why it was not doing it, or something like that.
Yes. I don't know. What anybody else have their opinion, or maybe?
I have no idea, actually. I mean, I saw this kind of question somewhere else. Like you type A, B, C, D, and the output is 8. How would you test that, I saw that. And you still have to put a lot of questions here to the interviewer. Because right here it says that if the issue is in the back end, at least it gives you a hint, an idea where it could be the issue. But if you don't have that, you have to put a lot of questions in, even if it's in the back end. Why that happens? Yeah, you probably, it's something related to the HTTP responses that you have to verify, to see what fields are sent with the JSON file or something. I don't know how to test that, but that could be one of the ways to do that.
Exactly.
And the next question is also similar, but a different one.
Okay, just to make your life hard. Imagine you have 3 devices, iPhone, iPad, and Mac. Everything works fine on iPad and Mac, but on iPhone, and on iPad and Mac, but on iPhone you keep getting pizza. It might be because on iPhone you're on a different internet provider or something. You're on a different service probably that still didn't update, where you have to maybe iPhone has some how do you call it?
I mean, there's also a question like what iPhone and iPad operating system there are, because, previously there was one operating system like iOS, but if I'm not mistaken, right now iOS only on the iPhone, and they changed it for iPad OS. So technically, while it's another operating system, it also another browser, even though it's Safari there and there, but it's different.
The idea is that iPhone may want to save battery, and for that is not updating constantly all the requests and so on. It just uses your cache.
Exactly, also. But it could be also happening with the iPad, right? It depends.
Yeah, so maybe in like low power mode, low battery mode, at the stage of low battery, some functions are suppressed.
Limited, yes. And but that's just one case. Actually, it could be a lot of cases.
In a lot of cases, definitely.
So usually the same kind of request, if it is going from 3 different platforms, are they returned from 3 different servers, or is it like...
No, the server is the same one. It's just it sends the responses to 3 different devices. For example, so each device is logged in, and it has a special token. So whenever the server sends something back, it sends to a specific device with that token. So even if you're in the same house, but you're logged in on 3 different devices, on the server, whenever it will send responses back, it will send on 3 different devices, not on just one, It's not like I'm sending this response to your account. No, I'm sending this response to these devices. You see?
But some companies, I remember that because we have some requirements for the web app. If the browser if the script of the browser automatically detects that you're going from iPhone, for example, or from the Mac, they can redirect you for some other page, or for some clone of the page, or for some different options. Technically it should be one page, but sometimes when you go on from iPhone, sometimes you see there's a mobile version of the website, and sometimes you can press the button and say like it's a desktop version. So some companies separate this type of versions for different type of devices, right? So it also can send you for the pizza, not for the baseball or whatever. It depends, of course, of the developer or of the website or web application. But it's too many depends on.
Yeah.
So technically, there's no one answer for that question. That could be like, for me at least, I see 10 different answers, and I definitely sure it is really, there are more.
Mm-hmm.
So probably what I understand from this question, they just want to see how you think and how you will start developing your thought. So what way you going, what way you will go, where you will look for, and how you start analyzing the problem. So they're not really looking for some exact answer, but they just want to find out that you can analyze.
Yeah. Like you can work with the problem, right? You can take some steps to.
Yeah, and more ideas you have, I guess, just tell them about your skills and about your, I don't know, fantasy, about your skills, experience, and so on. Especially, as I realized, a lot of people, like for the previous 2 interviews that we have, there was 2 ladies. What they told us, a lot of QA engineers, like seniors and developers, they like to ask, "Give me example." They like it. I mean, not like a raw theory, but example. So for anything, what we do actually, because we don't really have so many examples, that's the problem.
Right, yeah.
And they look like, and they know this, or even though we have example, it's not really easy when you have stressful interview to remember exact example for exact question.
Yeah.
So it looks like we should more concentrate ourselves on more practical examples for this or that question, not only for the theory.
Yeah. That is a good point, actually.
So maybe, I mean, because I don't know how about you, I just started to write some answers for some questions which folks sending me, and I get from somewhere, and I'm trying to find out how will I answer if they will ask and give me example. It start giving me much more, brainwash right now, because I'm still, I have no idea what the example I will give them. But I should, because if they ask and I'll just fail. I will say, and that's it.
Yeah.
I didn't learn that.
Huh? Excuse me?
You will say like, I didn't learn that. I don't know.
I mean, you do realize that they have people in line, so they are waiting for examples that, that they should see that you can, survive for this or that situation, or you can give them some kind of trustful answer.
Actually, in an interview, if you can ask for all your questions with examples, that is just great. I mean, they are impressed.
Yeah, they're usually impressed with the examples. I saw it for 2 interviews which ladies told me, like briefly, that what I saw and they 2 of them confirmed that examples is something that makes them more loyal to you than just answering regular answers for the regular questions.
Okay, got your point.
Maybe I ask one more question. Give me 3 examples of functional and non-functional testing.
Examples? Okay.
I mean, like for example, if we for example, let me give you that example. If we test in the headphones,
Okay.
like functional, non-functional.
Okay, so first of the requirement will be that it should, but it will be practical. I mean, to test that it actually transfers the audio. That is the basic requirement, right? And like, then what devices it supports. Yeah, you can test it, Dimitri. Go on.
Now I'm just showing the headphones.
Yeah, for example, if I ask you the volume, if we test the volume, is that functional or non-functional?
Functional.
No, it's not functional.
It's not functional.
Yeah, that's not functional, definitely.
Volume is the audio volume level, right? It's a feature, so it's not functional.
I think the way to approach this question is to, first of all, to define what is functional, what is non-functional.
Exactly.
And just bring up the, maybe a little bit of an element of what does it do? For instance, as a functional testing, you verify the output against the functional requirements. You follow the system, like the list of requirements. You validate the, basically what's in the document, and in the document you just read through it, and then you analyze that, you check mainly check and test interface. You check database, security checks, like everything that makes this app functional. And then versus non-functional. To actually, quite honestly, I don't think I know anything non-functional because I'm constantly think of what would implement the functional elements, where you can check on basic usability and accessibility, and like there are so many things that you can talk about just by talking about functional. So, yeah. So I think that would be a good start to give a interviewer an idea where you're going with this, and at the same time you give them more than enough information for them to not give you a follow-up question.
I agree. I don't know how about you.
Why volume is not function?
Well, volume it doesn't create any function for the app. Like the volume is more of a scale issue. So like I would think it would be a scalable non-function. I don't know, but the volume it doesn't create a function.
I mean, when we test headset, we test headset or we test app. Which app? We don't test app. I mean, when we test just headset, the volume should be a function. And that's a function of the headset. And that's a functionality testing, right? If we test an app that uses headset and we just see if, we can hear it. That's something different now, but
you do functional testing first, and then you implement non-functional testing. That's
okay. And what are the functional tests for a headset?
When you push the button, if the hardware sends the signal to Bluetooth to your device, and if it connects, that's a functional check, or like a security check, or that's a functional feature.
Okay.
Non-functional is when you again, to be honest, like I can't think of anything non-functional for the headphones. Like unless you decide to plug in a battery that doesn't need to, like that, I would find that non-functional.
Yeah, there should be requirements definitely. What's essential for this exact headphones and what is not. But I would say that maybe security is definitely not functional testing.
Security is not functional, but these headphones, like they have only a couple of functions. They have connect, Bluetooth, disconnect. They have this, noise cancellation. They have volume up, volume down. They have pause. They have play, and they also have like answering calls, hanging up calls, and the same volume up, volume down. And if you press like 2 seconds, it will change the next the next song in playlist and something like this. And 2 seconds on that one will be the
so there is
previous one. So these are functions of this headset.
Right. You can test the non-functional feature of your headphones of like buttons if they work. That would be non-functional testing. Because you test on the performance of the product and reliability of it. Does it make sense?
Not really. I mean, not for me.
Think about it. When you push the button, it creates a function in both ways, technically. It sends a signal to your software that creates the functional feature. Where you physically push the button, it's also could be a non-functional because you manually perform a task on the product. So you see, like you need to I don't know. I can't
as I understand, for example, if you're testing a headset, but not the application that uses the headset, then you just have to test as Michael said, for example, you test a toaster, right?
Mm-hmm.
You push the button to see if that toast will stay for 5 minutes or something like that. You push to see if you take select the power. I mean, I don't know.
Right.
You select the so that's all you do with that toaster is what toaster can do. I mean, if you press the volume button and that triggers the volume in your application, that means the volume button on this headset works. That means you're performing a functional testing of this headset because you're testing the functionality of this headset.
But here, okay, so with the functional testing, what you did on the headphones, it's an actual that on the product, it shows what it does. Like it produces the sound, right? Where a non-functional testing for that product would be how well you can hear. So that would be the volume level, and for that would be a non-functional feature. I mean, testing.
Yeah, the quality of the song, whatever you're listening there, that probably would be a different type of testing. But the buttons that you have, I mean, when somebody asks you to test the headset, it means you have to test the headset. It's not what headset it does. If it connects to an application, my headset, it can connect to any. Right now, it's connected to the computer. I can connect it to the phone. I can connect it to some other phones. I can connect it to the TV or something. I mean, once it connects, that means the functionality of this headset works. I mean, it could use the Bluetooth and connect to somewhere. That means it passed the test, right? Then
right.
You check for something else. You check for volume. You check for pulse. You check for whatever it has there. So all these are functionality of this headset. I believe. I mean, when somebody asks you to test the headset, all the buttons should be functional tested.
So he brings me back to my point where I said the functional testing should be executed first, and then you do non-functional to basically improve the product that's already been functionally proven by testing it first. So, and it's because
right.
It's a black box, so it's a vast.
Or maybe I missed some. I thought the question was. Different one.
Actually, to be honest, I don't remember what question it was.
No, the question was what are the functional tests and non-functional? The question was for Shweta, and then she was asked to test the headset. So I thought that when you test the headset, so whatever. Let's
move on. Okay, so we kind of got an idea of what is functional and what is non-functional testing, and it's just I get the idea and kind of describe it to your viewer. I think that's what's important. It's not about what do you test and how you test it. It's all about like logistics and logic behind it. So it's really hard. There are some questions that you can't answer just straight up one answer. Like there are so many answers to just one simple problem. It's just you gotta find your way to kind of describe it the way they would understand that. Yes, you know the difference and you know what to go or what to look for. And I think that's what I think.
If to see what Michael says about functional, non-functional, so we can address non-functional as localization, as performance testing, as
load, I guess.
Load?
Load testing.
Right? Yeah, load, stress, whatever, all this that goes under performance. So those will be non-functional. But usually, there was a discussion about between developers and QAs about functional, non-functional. For example, you have an application, basically functional testing. that's the functionality of the application that has some business logic. So whatever brings money to the company, you have to test, and that's definitely something related to functional. And or wherever saves time for the client is also functional testing. And there was a discussion between developers and QA. What do you mean changing the dark mode and white mode in an application is not functional? Because I've worked on that so like a whole day for doing that, all the elements to change their, so maybe a whole week, whatever. I've worked a lot, and that's a functionality that user can use. Like you push a button and it switched from white mode to dark mode, you know. But if this functionality does not bring anything to the business, I mean, it doesn't. The business doesn't get any money from that, so they don't consider it functional. You know? So, what do you think about this? Changing the white to dark is a functionality that you have to test, or that's not a functionality that you have to test?
I think that in order to change it from change the mode of the black to white and white to black, there has to be some code written for it, right? And then there's a button. So it's not a performance. First of all, it's a functional test against requirements, and there is a code that we are testing if there is a problem, if it works. But how user feels and all that will be usability later on. So I will call it a functional test.
I would call it a functional, yeah.
I would call it functional too, because even if it doesn't bring any money to the business, but that's something that user may be comfortable with. For example, I'm using this application and it has dark mode that's comfortable for me working at nighttime because my eyes doesn't get, and I'm going to use this. But if this application won't have this functionality, I would probably change to another one that has this functionality. So,
and also they will not develop a feature if the customers don't want it. They will not just add it. The product owner will bring this because they know that it is something that they can sell. They will never make their developers develop something that is not wanted by the customers. Otherwise,
Yeah, you're right.
Well, I don't know if you guys noticed, but when they came out with this dark feature, it's pretty recent feature, and it blew up because everybody was looking for something like that, and it's not something that they were considering in the past to change, but now that people have it, every other company is now trying to accommodate their apps to this new trend that people are doing. And as a matter of fact, I am using, on all of my devices, I use dark mode. Like, I don't like white mode anymore. Like, everything is dark and I love it. It's good on your eyes. I absolutely agree. Like, it's great. It's even better. And it definitely attracts you to use the application more now that feature has gotten so popular among other devices. And for that, you have to catch up as a device, or I mean, as an app, because it's just inevitably, it's an innovation on its own. Like, it's just, we keep evolving, and it's just the next level. And so, yeah.
Yeah, now it's a proven feature, of course. Every application has it.
Or should have.
And it's so by far, I think it's the most recent, like, major upgrade that's been, out there. So.
Folks, I just maybe would like to change the topic. I don't know how good you are with this Scrum and with this Agile methodology. I know that a lot of people don't like this type of the questions, but it's something that some of the,
what is the question? Like, what is
what type of meetings do you have in Scrum? Or maybe can you name them? I mean, except we usually have this stand-up meeting, in the morning, regularly, like 10 to 20 minutes.
I can answer, but is anyone else that wants to answer?
No, you go ahead.
You go ahead.
So we have daily stand-ups.
Yes.
We have sprint planning, first of all, which is so we had that like a couple of days with back with Jana, right? So we have sprint planning, which is usually before release, but you plan your next sprint. So usually sprint planning is on the second week. If you're talking for about a 2-week sprint. So sprint planning will be on the second week somewhere on Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you do regression and you deploy. And after this one, you have sprint review on Friday, for example, and on the same day you have sprint retrospective. And
why do we need retrospective?
Why do we need retrospective? Just to see how the sprint went, what difficulties we had, and how can we improve for the next one or for the future. Right?
Yeah, usually retrospective goes according to the all sprint. You're right.
But let me. I think no. Look, sprint planning is usually on Mondays, right? But which one is the one that you do like 2 days before the sprint starts? Huh?
What should we do before?
Yes. So you have sprint planning on Mondays when the sprint starts, right?
Mm-hmm.
But 2 days before that, what do you have?
Retrospective or review?
Sprint review? No. Sprint review and sprint sprint review? Oh, I got lost already. Let me see. What is that? Okay, so one more time. We have daily stand-ups.
So
we have sprint planning. We have sprint review, sprint retrospective. And we have
backlog grooming.
But is that
right, backlog grooming. That's 2 days before the sprint starts. So you when you have backlog grooming, you basically select from the backlog whatever you have to use for the next sprint with your PO and your team. And on sprint planning, you just plan your time. Basically, you just give points for each user story that you have to work on. So that's what we have. So we have backlog grooming that is 2 days before the sprint start. That usually is on the Tuesday or Wednesday. And then on the next week you start sprint. On Monday you have sprint planning, when you assign time for each task and each user story, and then you have sprint retrospective and a sprint review. The review is first one and the retrospective is the second one, and you basically have those after the release. And during the sprint, you also can have some other meetings like code review, bug triage meetings.
No, so they told us once somewhere, I remember, the bug triage is not part of sprint.
Oh, really? Okay.
Don't say that. And also she said that don't call it a daily stand-up, talk in sprint terms, and you should say daily Scrum meeting.
Well, if there is a Scrum master or some Scrum guru that really, feels like, talk about Scrum.
Yeah, I think it was Jana or Galina. She said that don't say daily stand-up, say that you have daily Scrum meetings. That's a better way of putting it.
It was Galina. She said it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And also, one thing that I've, something that I picked up from the school was a question when you're trying to describe your day. Try not to give them details in terms of like week, the days and hours, because they can catch you with the question, and you might just be vague when it comes to, like, say instead of Monday, like on the first, the beginning of the week. It doesn't have to be Monday. It could be Tuesday or Wednesday. You know what I mean? And so that gives them a bit of a vague idea what you're doing without any details. Because let's say if they ask something back to your story, and then you might, accidentally say something else, but then they would be like, but you said it, you guys do it on Monday. You know what I mean? So they want us not to give out as much information and just be very direct when it comes to answering the question. So, and try not to just, be washy-washy with it. It's just more of a direct response. And then if they ask, if the follow-up question would be, so when do you start your meetings or whatnot, then you go. And also try not to say time, because there was a really good point that, let's say your company is located in Seattle, and if you work in New York, you're not going to be working from 9 to 5 New York time. So you would know what you should be, if you work with the company, you should know the time difference, and that can catch you right there. So that's something that, it's kind of like a tip that I recently learned.
You're absolutely right about this, and about days. I was just talking about days for an idea when and how. So when these are happening, actually, because I was when Michael started to talk about this, or Jana, or whatever, I had an idea what's happening, but when I didn't really realize till I didn't see that picture that Jana just showed it. Because I know that there are sprint planning. I know that there are some meetings, but when they happen, I didn't know. Especially which meetings are happening before release and after release, or which meetings are happening before regression and after regression, and what happens, So I was kind of lost at the beginning with all this, but then I saw how actually that happens, and I learned about when and what happens. And at the beginning, I needed a lot of time just to understand that, because I had these ideas what's happening, but when and how I didn't know it. So that's why I was telling about days. But yeah, you're right. You shouldn't say which day and what are you doing, because that could be really different, especially backlog grooming.
Yeah, so I think to avoid counter questions, we should be vague, kind of. So it should be a short answer, I guess, then, right? How 1 minute or something?
The shorter, the better. You have to be very precise. They don't have time to just, have a conversation with you and have a, after drink. Just you know what I mean? Like, just to be exact to what you do. They want to get an idea. You kind of showing, most of the people that I talk to who are in industry, they say, on interviews, it's not about what you know, it's about how you present yourself. So the very first interview, they just look at you as a person. They see, are you capable to communicate with people? Are you able to deliver what you promise? Are you able to, be under pressure? Or, it depends on your responses. They get that idea. And then the next interview goes, and that's when they start going for your technical skills. And that's, and it goes from that point. But they say most of the time, they just have a conversation about who you are. And because they realize that once you're on the payroll, you're the person that they're going to be dealing with every day. They're going to be seeing you on the screen every day. They want to make sure that you're not annoying, and they're not tired of you by the end of the day. And so that's also important. You always have to present the personality first.
And if they have to like you somehow.
Yes, it's about likability. It always is. it's a great point for salespeople. Like if you like someone and it doesn't matter what they sell, they will sell it to you because of how they present themselves, and it goes the same for interviews.
Okay, I have another question. What are sprint artifacts?
I'm sorry, sprint what?
Artifacts.
Artifacts.
Sprint artifacts. Just based of the name, because honestly I don't know, but it's based of just coming up with the something that I can maybe respond to would be an archive of previous spin-offs that you did to track back if there's any error that could have been passed on from previous builds or whatnot. That's my definition. I don't know what it is, to be honest.
That's one of it, and it calls increment. So with each increment, you have something added, and you have an archive of these increments, where you can go back probably.
Right, to find like, yeah. So I guess I was right a little bit. That you can backtrack on wherever build that was that the change was made, and then see if that was a problem in the code or whatnot, in case any issue occurs.
And another two.
And another two. Is it also it keeps the information of the backlog, right? So
right.
Basically, you can go back in time, I would say, to any point of the development cycle, and then you can track for bugs. It can help you to debug. It can help you to create tests based off the information that you had in the past.
When it comes to backlog, it's just so there are three, like increment, sprint backlog, and product backlog. These are three. Yeah, these are three Scrum artifacts.
Wait, so which one is it again? Can you repeat all of them?
Product backlog, sprint backlog, and increment.
Okay.
That was also one of the questions that I had in one of my interviews.
That's a good one. I didn't know.
Michael, you want to add something?
I'm really bad in the artifacts of the Agile Scrum methodology, so I'm listening attentively.
Good question you brought up. I hadn't thought.
Yeah, good question. If you ask about Agile, they really like this stuff. So, thank you that you mentioned this stuff.
And you know what? I also I realized that the more you learn about this stuff, you can actually kind of guess something just based off how things work and the logic behind it. Even if you don't know, they're always upfront about you admitting that you don't know. It's always okay to say, you know what, that's not something that I worked on daily basis. That's not something that happened to me, but I've heard of it, and you can give it your best try. And if they say it's wrong, you say, well, I'm sorry, like I tried my best. but try always be open and honest about it. Like there's nothing that they don't expect you to know everything. It's always good to be vulnerable on interview, and sometimes you just don't know the answer, and you can just tell them bluntly instead of trying to come up with something that doesn't look good on you. So sometimes it's just honestly, just be honest about it,
Do you want to say that every time I have no idea about the answer, I should tell them, folks, I have no idea about the answer?
No, except for you. You ask way too many questions.
On my first interview, I linked one of their questions to our bootcamp, and actually then I realized that they didn't probably understand it because they didn't have this X-ray plugin in Jira. But they asked me, can you tell us all the ways that you can find an issue created by you in Jira? That's what they asked me. and bugs created by you in Jira, So of all the ways I can get these bugs, and actually, the first thing that came up is that button, but there are some other ways, and one of this is when you use just Jira without any plugins, you have only bugs, and the ways to get them is to use the SQL query in the search field, and to use these issues created by me, and also to use the menu and somehow to look for your bugs, and also to go to backlog, and if you keep your bug, if your PO added your bugs in backlog, just to search for them over there. But I thought, I was working with this X-Ray plugin, and I know that I was linking all my bugs to our test cases. And I started talking about test cases, and they were like, really, in Jira, test cases? and they didn't say nothing. And then after this meeting, after this interview, I realized that, what the hell? They probably don't even know about, they didn't expect that we are doing test cases in Jira or something like that. And we still link them with the bugs that we create. So the question was how, all the possible ways to find your bugs in Jira.
So what is the right answer?
So you have many options. If you have this is a button
on the Jira, right?
On the Jira, it says your issues or your tickets or something.
It says issues, yeah. Under the issues, there the menu on the top of the Jira, right, on the home page. There is a issues button. Under there, you can find it.
Okay, then you can write a SQL query right in the search field.
Okay.
You can write something like, let me remember, assignee equals current user function, and then order by edited, and you can put this disk, the
reporter should be just
descending one. So you can write descending at the end until you see all your bugs with the last one first. And then you can go, if the bugs were added to backlog by your PO, if those were bugs that are deferred or left for some next sprints, then you can also search for them over there. And probably there are some other ways to search for that, but I didn't know that.
Okay, so there are two kinds of searches, basic and advanced. So in advanced, you're kind of writing the SQL query.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they wanted to hear.
Probably.
So on every interview, there will be one strange question which will not be clear, at least.
Are we still alive, or should we keep going, or what's the plan?
Yeah, keep going. I can stay here.
Yeah, I'm just asking because I'm my vaccine starts performing, and I'm feeling a little bit dizzy right now. I'm just listening mostly.
We can continue tomorrow then.
No, I'm the host, so I should be here anyway. So I should be the last one who will leave.
I can ask some questions probably if you guys want.
Yes,
to.
Yeah. If somebody.
What is a sign off?
Sign off? Logging out of the system.
Oh, yeah. What is a sign off in QA?
Oh, you are releasing. You're saying that it's okay to release the product. Basically, QA has done its work. Is that correct?
Yep. But another question, who has to sign off except QA for the
release manager? There will be a release manager, right? They will okay the release finally.
Maybe Scrum Master.
Scrum Master.
I was just wondering, what if they don't have the release manager and Scrum, any Scrum, person? Because in the startups, they don't really usually they don't have so many employees.
But they have someone who's assigning tasks, so I would assume that would be the person.
I guess, probably.
So, like on my story that I invented, is like our PO, our product owner. He is the Scrum Master, and he is the BA, and so I was trying to make a smaller team, just not to talk too much about each one in case that they're asking. So our PO is writing user story, use cases. Our PO is taking care of the backlog. Our PO is our Scrum Master, and our PO decides if QA and our PO decides if the product goes to releasing or not. So that's my story. So it doesn't have any Scrum Master or a specific person that is doing this.
You see, I would add one more person just because the product owner, he has the final saying on everything, including the everything, including springs, including backlogs, all of it. But he definitely wouldn't be doing it by himself. So I really think that it doesn't matter, because it could be the smallest company in the world. They would still have one more person to kind of navigate it as a manager, like a managerial tasks, more of a like assigning tasks in Jira. And you, as a QA person, that's not your responsibility, or nor will ever be. So you would need someone authoritative who would take orders from the business owner.
Did you pass the clearance with Arena?
She won't give me the date, and I've been trying to set it up for like almost a month now.
Okay, so the idea is that when you pass that clearance, she will give you references, and those references had one QA lead and one QA manager. So in my story there is someone else.
Okay.
But
no, because the way it sounded like you put all those responsibilities on one person, and it just doesn't sound feasible.
No. I said that. I said just that we don't have Scrum Master, we don't have business analyst, and also the PO is also communicating with the stakeholders, and he has like a little bit more responsibility than in bigger companies.
Actually, I have a question for everyone. Who did the clearance? Did any of you finish the clearance except for Michael?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. Shweta?
No, actually, I have to schedule one. I only just now started studying and preparing for, so I should do it this month.
Okay.
And as I realize, folks, we have two different, clearances. Like one group goes through Laura, another goes through Jana, and if I'm not mistaken, Olga, because somebody come from the campus, somebody come from the usual, from the Partnovs, whatever, online.
Well, the reason why I'm asking, because I'm in process with her, with Laura. So we're going back and forth with the questions, and she's being very specific with how to answer the questions. And quite honestly, there's some things that I don't understand how to put in, because when she starts to ask about the company or the project that you worked at, she wants very specifics, and she's not giving you any. So I don't know how to like answer those questions the right way she wants me to.
Which one about your company?
So yeah. When it comes to like your company, describe your what technology you use and whatnot. Like so, and then what projects that you worked on.
So I understand what we usually do. Sorry for interrupting. They just copy all this stuff from Partnov's brief, application. The company for the brief. They don't say the brief. They say XYZ company, but all the explanation, all the all the quality of brief. How many, like 10 or 15 people and 50 like remotely. So we just copy paste this stuff. I mean, mostly that worked because as I realized. She probably needs the same answers for everyone, so she doesn't.
Yeah.
So there is an about the application tab. I mean, section on the space. Let me send you the link.
Yeah, and what application would you describe? You would basically go for brief, right? You
just say that at my company or at the project. No names. Just describe the application.
The only thing I'm not sure that we can open the Confluence. I mean, not everyone can open the Confluence, so probably.
Oh, I can't. Oh, let me see.
I see there are bullet points describe the application. Okay, this is very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, you have to say all these things.
Yeah, because especially when you fill out the questionnaire, it's just very specific and. Yeah, if you don't know what you're talking about, it's kind of hard.
And so I'm also confused. So there are two questions on the job clearance website. They say that describe the company, and then the second question is describe your project. So when they say company, we'll just tell that it's like so company info is separate on that on Conference also, right? These things we'll just say that it's software QA company.
Let me answer you this. So the way she started with me is that you get the list of all the questions, right? You fill out them as much as you can, and then she sends you like a brief body about the company. Let's say my company. She mentioned it's in financial. It has a financial consulting company. It's located in Seattle. And she told me like the 20 people work in the office, 100 works remote, and that's pretty much it. And so with that, including that location of Los Altos, but it moved to Seattle. Like it's literally, this is what that page that you just showed, that was exactly what she said. And so you have to get that, the company info, select that. No, select the company info, the next one, yeah. So as you can see, so this is basically what she's going to send it to you. And based on these bullet points, you have to come up with a story. And so this would be your company. And then when you go to the application, the application could be something else.
Yeah, so when they say describe your project or your...
Now I'm thinking the project would be the brief, right? But then again, we tested that app. I forgot what it's called. The Looking Bus.
Yeah, Looking Bus.
Yeah. So we can also describe that. But I don't know how to. That's my question. So the company could be doing one thing, right? But then the application could be totally different.
Yeah. So here the story is that it's a software QA consulting company and it gives you projects, right?
And so they under that umbrella, you have all those apps.
My current project. So just say this one company. Don't. That's what I have written. That it's a software QA consulting company. This and that. All these 6 bullet points I have just made sentences. Mm-hmm. Here I don't describe what I do. Right? It's just about the company. And then if it goes to application question or project, then we go to the bullet points section. Then we describe what we do there.
Yeah, when you describe all that, you have to implement all of the technologies, like all of the languages that we used and all that.
Yes. Whichever we want to be focused on, like whichever we like,
Because your description was very, when you were describing your company, it was very put together. I really liked it.
Yeah, it's because it's from here itself.
Well, that's what I'm. Yeah, before I found out that there was a thing. No, you put it all well put together, like correctly, like, so that as an interviewer, you have so many things that you want to ask, but then again, you kind of at the same time feel like, okay, so since you know all that and you described it all in such, like in details, it's good.
Yeah. So if anything I don't want to be asked much on, I will not add there if I'm not comfortable with a particular concept or any of the other technologies is learned. Like with Git, I'm always scared, so I don't mention that.
Well, the thing is, with Git, you might have to stop being scared about it, because every company that I looked at, they all require GitHub. They need knowledge of Git, just because they do have their own database that they store their projects on GitHub, and the first thing that you would need to do is to have access to those. And for that, I had to do my own research and like my own tutorials on how to do and how to use it, because I'm just like you. Like, I don't know what the GitHub and how that works.
Yeah. It's that's how it is. It's a little, when I use it, I always struggle. I have learned it like 2 times, but it's still not easy. So, but I can answer some questions, but I mean, I would rather not have to go there.
The idea with GitHub is that whenever you create your workspace, or how is that called? Or create a project or
Repository.
The repository, okay. You create your repository on your local machine, or you connect with the remote repository, and when you clone a project or something, you do that just once. And then you just use some basic commands that you can use them every day, and those are not too many. So you just can say like, yeah, we did that, and I don't really remember, but you can learn a little bit. If you forgot something, you may talk whatever you know. But 3-4 commands that you use every day, you just have to learn them, and that's it.
Right. Yeah, like git commit and all these 4-5 commands, I remember, but
I think your search shouldn't be GitHub. It should be Git. You should get the idea of what Git is first, because GitHub is basically the marketplace where
online
you deposit all your Gits. Yeah.
No, folks, what I want to show you about this Git pour commands for a little girl, which explains in the pretty pictures. I just want you to see this stuff. I don't know, did you see it or not? The little girl was trying to, not a little girl, but you see this on the screen?
Yeah, we see.
So she just put this little kitties and trying to, explain for herself how the GitHub works. So when I first see it,
it's actually kind of cute.
Yeah, it's so cute because.
Can you share the link?
Yeah, can you send it?
Yeah, let me send you the link.
I mean, they try to come up with a variety of animations for you to just get it.
Yeah, it's so funny. When I found it, I was like, geez, it's just for kids. It's so funny.
They made a fun story because they have the logo is the cats. In the cat world, they created a story. It's nice.
Let me find where do I have this chat, because right now I'm sharing the screen.
Oh, right there. There's a share button to the top.
Yeah, see. Thank you, chat. On the top. Yeah, let me just. Sorry, I just see it. I just sent it to Aram. I just should send it for everyone. Okay.
And you said it's for kids. Look at that. We're asking the link, so we're the kids. We're kids once.
So did you receive the link in the chat?
Yes. This is cool, actually. This is really cool.
Yeah, it's actually very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, you see somewhere here, probably this is the more, not on the Reddit, but let me copy this another link. It looks like it's an original link, so I'm just trying to copy it because it's more reliable than...
just putting kids kitties on any piece of information, and I'm in.
Yeah, let me copy paste it. Yeah, I did it. So I guess this is the straight link to that lady, so that teenager page or whatever.
It's an original post.
She looks older than me, dude.
Can you repeat what you said? I missed your point.
That doesn't.
No, I was, sometimes when I'm looking for something, I like to look at the pictures, everything I search for. I mean, like when I'm too obsessed or when I'm too tired, I just put the pictures and looking. And in one of the days when I did it, I said, like, what's that? It's like another way, like it's like our association memory works a little bit differently. And when you see, oh, geez, I mean, you see the different cats, she put the cat, the tail, then another tail with the green, with the orange and green together. So they just they give us that information how we make the new version and the new branch, and so it's a kind of
That's good. And she put so much effort and she put it up there for free.
Nice. Nice and cute. Like my previous, when I was in Russia, my previous boss used to tell me when he explained something, he said, you should, sometimes when you, especially on the meeting, the person who leads the meeting should, or one of the, participants sometimes should, every 15 or 10 minutes should put some kind of joke or some cute stuff. So that will, kind of shake the atmosphere and make people smile. And from one place, people start it's a kind of pause from one question, but another one, it's a kind of point between two topics, and so it puts you in your memory like association. So it will keep in your memory that while he tells us this anecdote or this joke, he actually tells us about. He kind of fix it in our memory somehow. With the funny, with the
Yeah, that is correct. Actually, it works visual. For some people, especially visually, things will be easy to understand.
Not only visual, but more positive way, or more funny way, or more way that.
This is a comic book on Git.
Probably.
Something like that.
Yeah, when you have a problem, you're going to think about, what did Kitty do?
Yeah. Very creative.
Yeah. All right, do you guys want to move on to maybe another question?
Sure.
How many, first of all, how many interviews have you guys done, or have you started it on 5?
Yeah, I had only 5, and the last one was in 2020.
Okay.
Okay.
But not because I was taking a break, and now I'm kind of thinking about to try one more time.
Mm-hmm. I think in 2020 we were kind of taking a break.
True. Did you get the job clearance recently or 2 years back?
No, that was in 2020 as well.
Oh, so will your resume still work, or you need a new one from them?
No, I still work. I just asked Michael a couple of weeks ago, and he said
okay,
everything is.
They give you basically all the logins and all the information for you to keep for Infinite, because you will always have a login to Jira. You always have access to your previous chats. That's something that they want you to keep, just so that you have some reference to.
Okay.
Yeah. My question about the clearance. So I know 2 of you did the clearance at the end when she said, "Okay, you guys are good." So basically, everything that they gave you prior to that, So because they give you the description, they make a resume for you, but the only thing that they do not disclose is the name of the company. And so once you go through clearance, do they give you the name and then they give you like the actual address, or how does it work?
They just send you an email with the names, phone numbers, emails, and everything.
Okay. And then from that you can just put it in LinkedIn, and there you go.
Yeah, technically.
What? No, you don't have to put it in LinkedIn. I mean, what do you mean? Oh, the company. The company.
And you get liable references too. Like
what do you mean?
Like they give
sure.
names or just phone numbers.
Yeah, sure. So as I said, name of the QA lead, name of the QA manager, and with contact information.
Got it. Okay, that's cool.
Be careful, because one person from our Partnov's team, she also gave this information on the LinkedIn, and there was a recruiter who asked her, "Do you remember what was the name of your QA blah 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 and your manager?" And there's two names actually, but there's no information who is that, male or female. And actually that person asked her who is that, and she gave her the wrong answer. She said, because even in my case, I after she told me, I was reading, there was two names, and I was asking, is that female or male? I mean, from their names it's not easy to find out. And I was thinking about myself that one is a male, another is a female. But when I call, they told me it's two females actually. So it's better if you find out, not from Laura or from Annie, because if you work 2 or 3 years with them, you definitely know who they are.
Right.
And if you don't know,
have you actually called them to verify the information?
I didn't call them, but I asked Laura, because she gave us these people, and if I'm not mistaken, Michael also should know these guys. I'm still not sure that when somebody wants the references from these two guys or two girls or two males, females, I'm not sure that they will answer. It looks like, something tells me that it's Portnov's team, I don't know, Zhana, Sofia, another Sofia, and 2 or 3 other persons who actually collaborate somehow, and all these references come to them, and they keep answering this stuff.
Yeah, I really don't know how they do it.
So, because I have, how to tell you, because when I was looking at the, Galina's lectures, I made a screen recording, because all these rules, because they put all this stuff to the Confluence, and I'm not always satisfied with the quality, and because Galina not always record everything. She sometimes she did not start with the beginning. She starts after like Scrum meeting, or sometimes she forget to put.
No, she didn't used to record that at the Scrum meeting. After that, she would start recording. Always.
I was looking in the Confluence. I didn't see that. It usually the last minutes or the last seconds of the Scrum meeting, what I saw. Because I was in the 2 bad comps, because I missed the first one, but I was kind of have access for this. I didn't really see that she did it in a full amount. But another thing is why I'm telling you this, because how to tell you. I lost my mind, sorry. Probably my vaccination is harder than me. So I was telling you about the
recording.
You were recording.
Yeah.
And that is why he records everything.
I got it. So while I was recording Galina, it happened that way that somebody called Michael, are you watching for Partnov's lecture, something like this? And there was, if I'm not mistaken, Partnov's was, as usually before the webinar, he starts preparation, and sometimes he starts sharing a little bit earlier. And, you can see his screen. But at that time I was, just recording everything. And this stuff, because, he put like, make a little click for like, with the Slack or for the Skype. And because he doesn't record all this stuff and he doesn't upload all this stuff, you don't really, you can see, but you forget. But if my screen is recorded, like from my computer, I can stop it later and find out what was this screen. And what I found out, there was a kind of insight from their internal, not for every eyes, it was a second, but it's enough, because for recording software, it's not a big deal. Second or half of a second. And there was a kind of messages in the Slack that, folks, I'm going for the new year or somewhere I'm going, and can you, can you protect my ass because of the employees calling for pay stub or for the references? So can anybody, answer for me or for Jana or for Sophia? And then I just realized that this is the kind of collaboration, how they use it when somebody is absent and cannot fully answers for references or for students like me and you. So this is why I was trying.
Guys, just accept the fact that the Portnov is basically a network of Russian mobs that they have plenty of people working under, and so they're technically hackers. So in that, you should have enough strength and courage to continue. But the jokes aside, no, it's a good. Huh?
Back in 2019, when I was starting with Portnov, and one of the lessons he accidentally opened a document from desktop called, there was a Excel spreadsheet called Bablo. And he just accidentally opened it. There was just some names with some
Dmitry,
data,
Dmitry,
and he
sorry.
kind of switched it.
Can you translate Bablo for Shweta?
Bablo, that's
dough, money dough.
Dough,
like
it's a kind of
not a dough, but like a dough.
It's a Russian slang.
It's a slang word for money.
Oh, okay, like food or something.
Like a dough. When you got a lot of dough and you just, but you don't say a lot of money. You just go for a lot of dough.
Okay. Thank you for the translation.
It gotta be, like a Russian gangster.
Because Shweta, you should know, in Russian we have like regular language and some kind of like informal and even swear language, and it's not like couple of words like in English, like F word or BS word. We have separate language with about 20, or if I'm not mistaken, 25,000 separate words.
Oh my goodness. Really?
I know that because
you have a better chance of learning Chinese than Russian. Trust me.
Oh.
I know that's because we have special. In Russia you can right now buy the special dictionaries of the swear words, and there's like 20 volumes of that. They call it, yeah. We're gonna find out.
Lily, do you have any questions, Lilia? She's been the quietest one. And she's away.
No, I'm here. I just enjoyed your conversation.
Okay. Shall we? I really enjoyed this chat, but I think we should wrap it up. But I think we should do it again, though.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It kind of gives you a little bit of encouragement to, just continue going, because honestly, lately it's just been very, I wouldn't say just not as enthusiastic about this, but just talking to people about this and just kind of get it going kind of makes you just continue.
Yeah, that is correct. I know. It's hard to find motivation.
And maybe we can bring in more people who can kind of share their stories or.
Actually, because I started with another group which actually have nothing common with the Portnov school. They have no idea, because there was a separate school, another school and two other school, and they just find me because they mostly do all this for Ukraine, Russia, and Belarus, but because they still have explanation in English, they just find me somewhere in the English chat where they just found me like a person who speaks a little bit better than they, and they were using me like a kind of, I wouldn't say interpreter, but the person who knows, English terms inside of the US. And because I was more fluent than they, so this is the way how we, get with each other. So they knew a lot of stuff from JavaScript. They told me how the JavaScript works, so all these objects, function and other stuff, which actually I don't really know. I'm not good in JavaScript and Java. But so we were, just how to say.
That would be great to have someone like that on chat, so that not only the QAs can contribute, but also developers.
Yeah, actually, two people there, right, are there working, and one of them is a kind of QA lead, another one is a kind of middle QA, and some of the stuff they really know according to their current job. And what was good that they have really bad English. So mostly, I know how about Shweta, because technically someone should translate, or I should encourage them to try to speak English. Otherwise, somebody should translate, or somebody should force them to speak English. Otherwise, because somebody.
Well, the main point of this chat is for you not to learn English, but to learn the logistics of the QA,
I mean,
career.
For them, actually, for those who already work in Russia and Ukraine, they already know all this QA stuff, but they're really bad in English, and they don't really use English lexics and English, terms. So for them, English is really important, because they know that they should go to the US or international market. And until they don't express themselves in English, they really stuck on their position. So for them, it's also beneficial in both ways. So this is how we actually exchange the,
Well, you can invite. So that's what I'm saying. We can invite more people to share their experiences, regardless of their level of language.
Yeah,
English,
actually, I invite them because actually this is their Zoom. They shared me the link with the Zoom, and actually because we sit not for 40 minutes. I was begging them, asking them, can you share this link, because it's paid. So technically what I do next, I mean, there's no guarantee that they will share the link for the Zoom.
Right.
Yeah.
Zoom is only 40 minutes, right?
Yes, exactly. So, but if it's a paid version, because this is a paid version, so sometimes they share the link. They have 2 or 3 accounts. So I was thinking, if they will not share the link anymore, or will share them once or twice, probably I will, ask my boss, and he will buy me the Zoom account, and I will probably
No need to do that trouble. What we can do is we can, at 45 minutes or 40, whenever it ends, we can again resend the link in this. We can create a group on Slack or
you know WhatsApp. What? If you ever done this before, it will be kind of a headache. I did it twice and always to resend the link, it's not so easy, because you always resend and resend and resend. And even though technically we don't really use much information, but some people cannot go inside the Zoom so quickly or at the same time. So it's really uncomfortable, I'm telling you. So it's much better just to pay this $15 a month. I mean, I will ask my boss, and he will do that. And because technically, I mean, for those who is in Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine, it's a problem. For me, $15 is not a big deal. So I guess it can happen that way. About your question that I can invite these people, actually they invited us. And while I'm telling, because I was not sure that I can actually be a kind of host, because usually there was 2 ladies and 1 male person who actually was in charge. So I was kind of person who support them with the English stuff, and they supported with the questions, with the QA lead questions, with the with the more hands-on stuff. So in that case, so probably I mean, this Saturday and Sunday they cannot do that, because most of them said they blah 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 have some kind of family issues, or some family celebrations. That's the point. But what we did last time, it was Monday, if I'm not mistaken. But Monday also not really good day for them. The only problem that I realized, because they are there in Europe, I would say, so usually time is this 21 Moscow time, it's about 10 a.m. California time, and the 1 p.m. East Coast, like New York or Boston. So that is the problem. Because if they, sometimes I remember when it was a Saturday, we assembled, we joined together maybe at 7 or 6 p.m. Moscow time. So in California it's about, I don't know, 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. So it's too early. People sleeping usually. So that's the problem with the time, because we most of them there. So usually like from 10 people, 2 are here in US, and 7 to 8 to 9 usually there. So let's try to organize the time, because for me it was the biggest problem, because different people give me different time, and I was cracking my head how to make all this schedule for different time zones and put you together.
Yeah, that's not easy.
I mean, if I did it maybe 10 times, maybe it'll be easy. But for me, yesterday there was a challenge. I mean, Shweta, you saw, you sent me the request at maybe what, 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. Until midnight, I was still trying. I make a table, because with the time zones, it was, like I'm making the puzzle. Whom can I put this or that? I mean, who is sleeping, who is still sleeping?
Don't worry so much. When I can join, I'll join, yeah.
Okay, look, first of all, I didn't know what will be here exactly. I was kind of expected this behavior, but for next time I can actually prepare lots of questions that we can discuss, and also provide the answers for those questions in case if you don't know, and have more. Not to come to a point where what should we ask next or what should we do next, so we can kind of prepare for that, and that can be next time. And regarding those persons from Ukraine and Belarus and Russia, we just have to understand that it's a little bit different how they are working over there and how we are working here, and what they are expecting over there in Ukraine, and what we are expecting over here. What questions are asking over there at the interviews, and what questions we are asked here in the United States are a little bit different. And I would say for those over there, probably they should be more technical. They should have more knowledge to pass an interview than we do here. What do you think about this, Mike?
I would say only along some kind of terms. Some of the questions are different, but some technical questions are pretty much the same. I mean, there's some differences, of course, and there's a language differences, because most of the interviews goes usually in Russian language. But as I realized, what according to the technical stuff, it's more or less useful, and I wouldn't say it's absolutely different. It's close to what we have right now. The only thing
questions are the same. The thing is that they have to know a lot more.
Yes, no? Exactly. They have to know much more. I mean, even for the junior positions, they know like for senior or QA lead. So the questions that they have been asked, I was shocked, because if I'll ask these questions, probably I will go to the senior position here.
Mm-hmm.
Is that so? Why is it like that?
Because, for all these countries, for former USSR, we have been too detailed for some little stuff, and for the technical documentation for everything. So it's the way how I would say, I wouldn't say Russians, but that kind of people from former republics of USSR, how we prepare it. So this is the mentality. This is how we have been studied, and this is the way the requirements for the market on like Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, at least. So here it's not so tough. It's not so strict, as I realize. It's good from one side, but not from the professional stuff and otherwise. So it's easy to come and get your first job here, but technically these guys there know much more than we have here. So by the way, I'm sending you the link for this previous I put on my channel. Probably some of you know, some of them not. I put on this interview I recorded. It was on the 16th of January. So most of the people you don't know there except me. But the only thing that probably for Shweta I should translate, because half of the conversations there in Russian. I already, if I'm not mistaken, I already did some transcripts, like subtitles. But I guess some things I should kind of make a kind of other, how to say, co-host or like put my or somebody's voice over for this video that you can understand it. I mean, I'm apologizing for that that I didn't do that before, but I didn't realize that because first when I started doing it, I was not sure that it will be somebody who didn't understand Russian. But right now, as I understand, it's real, and we should more do it at least in 2 languages, but more likely in English at least.
I agree.
So, but subtitles should be there. I mean, there's 2 ladies who helped me. Not 2 ladies. One. There was a Victor, and there was a Liliana, if I'm not mistaken, from California. They helped me to do with the. You will see for 3 hours actually, because video for 3 hours is not easy to watch if you don't have timestamps, and this is why. If you look at my channel, you'll see some. Cut-it videos for 10-15 minutes, because usually people tell me, Micah, we don't have 2 hours or 3 hours, and I start cutting this. It takes much more time, but I cut it. But after this lady, after Liliana, after Victor gives me they put they spend their time and give me this, and me and you this time codes. It's easy to navigate along the video, and there's a lot of if you open this video, you can see it right now. You can see there's a time code. That's not every time code that we use, but any one of you can add something, because it was made briefly because it takes time. But I guess we will. I personally would add something that is missed, something like this. Of course, I'm waiting for your for your opinion. What do you like? What do you don't like? Maybe some advice. What should I add? What should we change? So your feedback would be. I would appreciate your feedback, of course, because I'm working not for myself, but I just want, like one person told me, we are making a kind of. We're not actually competitors. We're kind of. I'm trying to create a kind of community where we both trying to involve, improve, and help each other to develop ourselves and to improve.
I'm just right now I'm looking at this time codes, and I see the questions that you went through, and like for example this one, OSI model, 7 levels of OSI model. Who asked this here in the United States? Nobody.
Agree with you. I guess this question more for the developer position than for the QA, or maybe it's for senior position if you are really communicating with developers.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, there was a question about SQL, and actually, it was a pleasure for me that I share the book which I found, and there's one link for the video which actually I record also with that lady who is the author of that book. So it's in English, so you can enjoy reading for free, because usually you should pay here. What else? And the video actually also uploaded for that company who were interviewed and make this kind of Zoom with that lady when she answered. There was a Zoom maybe 2 weeks ago, and they put maybe if I'm not mistaken, there was 8,000 viewers simultaneously present on this type of Zoom, and I was one of them. So that was a kind of interesting stuff, because that lady, briefly goes along the SQL commands and how the SQL works in the current world. SQL like SQL.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna go because I gotta do this.
Yeah. So let me.
But I would love to do it again soon.
Yeah, I will send an invitation to every one of you that we will be in touch.
All right. Well, thank you again, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. I hope to see you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.